Are we back yet? Oh my goodness. Clearly I'm pissing off the Archons with this one. Or maybe my stupid web browser needed a reboot. Or maybe it was the internet service. Who the hell knows? We've been trying desperately to just do a live stream while on what is normally some pretty solid internet signal. We are now at the third video restarting things. Butterfly Ballerina, I'm so relieved to have you here. You get so much momentum going, and then it all gets knocked astray. You got to build it back up again. Where were we? We are talking about the occult meaning of the Matrix. And by occult meaning, like, obviously the Matrix is fundamentally Gnostic in nature, which, you know, you can take Gnosticism explicitly, and you can either say it's a Christian heresy, or you could say it's the truth and Christianity is a heresy. You can take a really hardline stance on it like that. Or you can view it as a perspective that has some utility to it, that has something worth saying. I'm far more of a fan of being flexible in my belief structures and being certain only of mathematical proofs. So for the next little while, we are going to take Gnosticism and we are going to embrace it fully. And we're going to see what it says about the architect and what it says about Neo, the One, the anagram for the One. And remembering, of course, that this is a modern story, Neo is all of us. Neo is, on the one hand, he's where we find ourselves in the current state of history, but Neo is also what we go through in our own lives. These aren't contradictions. This is just the fractal nature of reality itself. So the architect tells Neo, the Matrix is older than you know. I prefer counting from the emergence of one integral anomaly to the emergence of the next. In which case, this is the sixth version. By the way, let me repeat something. I don't know if the last stream caught this before it died, but there's a fantastic comment pointing out that you're here on Earth in this part of the Milky Way being ruled by pedophiles. This is the integral anomaly cropping up. So it used to be that we had a straightforward tyrannical morality for the hoi polloi, for us stupid peasants. This is good, that is bad. Do this, don't do that. While the elites were a little bit more fluid and creative, because the dogma, the taboos, it's incoherent. It's always incoherent. And the sort of people that rule are smart enough to see that. But as the integral anomaly keeps growing over time, we go from a ruling elite where a few homosexuals with wives who are beards are tolerated to its entire evil blackmail operation. This is the anomaly that resets the entire system. At first, the lies inherent to the system can be ignored, can be accommodated, they can be swept under the rug. But when it keeps going and going and going and going, eventually we get to the present state where it is beyond intolerable. And yes, we are back. JT, could you do me a favor? Toss a link to from this stream into the last stream in the chat if you still can. I'd really appreciate that. So yes, the architect says the matrix is older than you know, and he keeps track of it by the integral anomalies. In which case, this is the 6th number of the beast, folks. 666. By the way, that's not the only time that crops up in the film. Like the numerology, it's not saying that Neo is the Antichrist. It's saying it's no accident. This is the 6th. This is the 6th. Didn't Blavatsky talk about the 7th root race? So Neo says, then there's only 2 possible explanations. Either no one told me, or no one knows. Precisely, says the architect. As you're undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equations. Math is all fine and good until you introduce irrational numbers. Choice, says Neo. The problem is choice. What does choice have to do with irrational numbers? I'm going to pause it a little bit here. Irrational numbers are by their very nature inscrutable. And the problem with choice, the problem with free will is also by its very nature inscrutable. Keep your numbers rational, folks. Exactly. Rational numbers, the architect is okay with rational numbers. I might be getting ahead of myself, but he is okay with some people choosing Pepsi and other people choosing Coke. That's acceptable. That's predictable. Ketchup, catsup. Mayonnaise, Miracle Whip. All right, we're getting people back. Fantastic. Thanks for the comments, guys. Sorry. I actually think it's because I need to reboot my web browser. My web browser. I think that was what's causing the problems, but who knows? We'll see if we get another one. Free will, like the irrational number, is unconstrained. Here's one of the quotes I pulled up beforehand. This is from Dostoevsky. This is probably longer than the quote needs to be, but I'm going to read you the whole thing because Dostoevsky is wonderful. And indeed, this is the odd thing that is continually happening. There are no, I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this. There's a better point. There's a better point to use it. Free will and irrational numbers, very, very similar here. Because free will is a little bit more than just Coke and Pepsi. Choice, says Neo. The problem is choice. Architect says the first matrix is designed. The first matrix I designed was quite naturally perfect. It was a work of art, flawless, sublime, a triumph equaled only by its monumental failure. The inevitability of its doom is apparent to me now as a consequence of the imperfection inherent in every human being. Thus, I redesigned it, based on your history, to more accurately reflect the varying grotesqueries of your nature. However, I was again frustrated by failure. I've since come to understand that the answer eluded me because it required a lesser mind, a mind less bound by parameters of perfection. Thus, the answer was stumbled upon by another, an intuitive program initially created to investigate certain aspects of the human psyche. If I'm the father of Matrix, she would undoubtedly be its mother, the Oracle. So let's think about this. The first Matrix was quite naturally perfect. The first Matrix was the Garden of Eden. The first Matrix was the first Star Wars movie. Let's rewind a bit. So we got the first Star Wars movie is just a completely straightforward hero's journey. Hey, Luke, the bad guys are over there. Yeah, go fight the bad guys, blow up the Death Star, have a ceremony based upon triumph of the will. Which is where, again, the shadow is the self. The protagonist and the antagonist are the same character. In the first Star Wars movie, Luke is fighting against space Nazis while also being the perfect Aryan Ubermensch. The Empire is Nazi coded, but the celebration at the end of A New Hope is literally based on triumph of the will. Bad guy and good guy are the same character. They're two sides of the same coin. This is the perfect Matrix. What more do you want? You're Mario. Go jump on the dragon turtle. Rescue the princess. What the hell more do you want? Is this not... Are you not impressed? Are you not satisfied with this happy ending? What is wrong with it? Now we quote Dostoevsky. And indeed, this is the odd thing that is continually happening. They're continually turning up in life moral and rational persons, sages and lovers of humanity who make it their object to live all their lives as morally and rationally as possible to be, so to speak, a light to their neighbors, simply in order to show them that it's possible to live morally and rationally in this world. And yet we all know that those very people, sooner or later, have been false to themselves, playing some queer trick, often a most unseemly one. Now I ask you, what can be expected of a man since he is a being endowed with strange qualities? Shower him with every earthly blessing. Drown him in a sea of happiness, so that nothing but bubbles of bliss can be seen on the surface. Give him economic prosperity, such that he should have nothing else to do but sleep, eat cakes, and busy himself with the continuation of his species. And even then, out of sheer ingratitude, sheer spite, man would play you some nasty trick. He would even risk his cakes and would deliberately desire the most fatal rubbish, the most uneconomical absurdity, simply to introduce into all of this positive good sense his fatal, fantastic element. Is just his fantastic dreams, his vulgar folly that he will desire to retain, simply in order to prove to himself, as though that were so necessary, that men still are men, and not the keys of a piano, which are the laws of nature threatened to control so completely that soon one will be able to desire nothing but by the calendar. And that's not all. Even if man really were nothing but a piano key, even if this were proved to him by natural science and mathematics, even then, even after science had proved that we're just chemicals in our brain telling us that we're chemicals, even then, he would not become reasonable, but would purposely do something perverse out of simple ingratitude, simply to regain his point. And if he does not find means, he will contrive destruction and chaos, will contrive suffering of all sorts, only to gain his point. When Neo said, that's the problem with the Matrix, is choice, free will. That Dostoevsky quote, as Peterson so aptly summed it up, bathing in bubbles of bliss, eating cake, seeing yourself to the continuance of the species, it would all get so fucking boring and contrived and controlled that every single one of us would find a way to smash it to smithereens. That was the first Matrix. That was the Garden of Eden. Didn't work, says the architect. Didn't fucking work. Because you're a bunch of assholes. All right. How about horror, then? I think about the horror of scaphism. We go from the early stories of the creation, this is the nature of things, to the justifications of power. We get scaphism. Now, I meant to look this up before stream. Originally described by Plutarch in his Life of Artaxerxes, citing Ctesias as his source. Basically, a common soldier saved the God King in battle, which was unbecoming to the God King. The God King said to the soldier, "Tell nobody, and I will give you great riches." Gave the soldier great riches, but the soldier decided to brag. Now, you know what? Actually, it was me that saved God. I saved the God King. What do you think of that? And so the authority of the God King thus impugned, there's only one solution. Take the soldier that saved his life. Trap his body between two canoes. His head and his limbs outside. Force feed him honey. And leave him in the Middle Eastern sun. Until the inside of the canoes fill with his own filth. Attract the various verminious insects. Eyes blinded by the noonday sun, screaming in madness as his living body is eaten alive by the most hellish of vermin. So he dies. That was the second Matrix. But it didn't work either. The second Matrix was the Bronze Age. It was the hero gets to have 200 wives. And those declared the villain get to die eaten alive by centipedes trapped between two boats. That is the glory and the horror. You didn't like the Garden of Eden? You didn't like the happy story? How about misery? But that story didn't work either. So the architect, the one that squares the circle, the left brain, the rational brain, had to tap into the intuitive brain, the oracle, the passive feminine. The architect controls us by manipulating what choices we have. Coke or Pepsi. Either way, the house always wins. The oracle doesn't employ force in the same manner. The oracle is the feminine. Neo realizes it's the oracle. Please, says the architect. As I was saying, she stumbled upon a solution. Stumbled upon. The left brain can never admit when the right brain is correct. Master and emissary. Please. As I was saying, she stumbled upon a solution where nearly 99% of all test subjects accepted the program as long as they were given a choice, Coke or Pepsi, even if they were only aware of the choice at an unconscious level. Aware of the choice at an unconscious level. Coke is tradition and family and more memories. Pepsi is transformation, hope, and the future. How conscious are you of your choice of the political parties? I'll tell you one thing, I'm very conscious of the fact that I would actually be a lot happier if I'd convinced myself to be a Democrat. Most people that vote left or right. Confused Matthew took a huge issue of this. How can you make a choice if you're not conscious of the choice? It's the other option that matters. Believing that you have another, like, I'm a Republican because I'm not a Democrat, and vice versa. You probably didn't become left or right wing as a kid. Like, a huge part of it is personality type. A huge part of it is environment. Are you really conscious of why you believe what you believe? Or does the other reinforce what you are? All right, let's get back to the architect. Well, this answered function, it was obviously fundamentally flawed, thus creating... So yeah, 99% of people will just unconsciously pick Coke or Pepsi. And the fact that they got to pick a Coke or a Pepsi, they never start thinking, maybe they want a root beer. Well, this answered function was obviously fundamentally flawed, thus creating the otherwise contradictory systemic anomaly that, if left unchecked, might threaten the system itself. Ergo, those that refuse the program, while the minority, if unchecked, would cause an escalating probability of disaster. I don't care who you vote for. I just want to make sure that you go out and vote. So now we get back into the, we'll say, the meat of the movie. Neo says this about Zion. In the movie, Zion is the literal instantiation of humans living outside the Matrix. And we got a new track coming in. Which is I'm sorry, but I got to go to the washroom. We're going to start that new track. I'm going to take a 30-second break. Perfect. Be right back. All right, we are back. Hopefully the stream hasn't died. It looks like it's still good. Would you like your eggs with broken glass or dog shit? Kareem doesn't like the Millennium Falcon. There are those who don't like choices, says Firefly. Yes, and that's, you are the problem. I am the problem. Neo is the problem. Anybody that starts noticing that the choices are fake, that, okay, yeah, you can vote Republican all you want. Generally speaking, they win for 8 years, then the Democrats win for 8 years. And the pendulum starts swinging faster and faster and faster. And the faster it swings, the more people step away from it and want nothing to do with it. This is exactly the problem. This is why there needs to be a reset. So we get back into the movie itself. This is about Zion has been the escape hatch. All the people that don't buy into the Matrix. And, okay, in the movie, the Matrix is the synthetic reality, which is mimicking 2001. Well, Zion is the actual reality, the desert of the real. You know, Baudrillard said that they didn't understand his work. I think actually they really did on a deeper level, on a very metaphorical level, I think they did. Zion is the escape hatch. You need a Zion. Listen, go back to Brave New World. Brave New World acknowledged that it needed an escape hatch. You've got the perfectly engineered society of the alpha, betas, gamma, deltas. Don't say a damn, just take a gram. You've got the engineered society. You've got the Chaos Society of North America, the Savages. But you also need those that don't fit into either. And so the protagonist of Brave New World, it's like, listen, we're like 99% certain we're right, but we don't want to destroy you in case we're wrong. The same idea in the Forever War. You should read the Forever War. It's one of my favorite books. You become that which you fight. And we're pretty certain we've perfected man. But just in case we're wrong, you can go on to the breeding colony. Zion is the pressure relief valve for the system. Zion is crazy lunatics like me that are completely done with the city. I'm not part of the right wing. I'm not part of the alt-right. I'm not Nick Fuentes' crew. I'm also not the left. And I'm like, you know what? Leave me the fuck alone. I'm gonna move to the country. Go quietly insane in the dark with nobody around for a kilometer. But then too many people move to the country. Zion gets too crowded. All those imperfections when we were pretending that pi was a ratio and not an infinite irrational number, that remainder you know what was truly apolitical? Was people that didn't get the COVID vaccine. It was actually about 50-50 left and right. Yes, the dominant left-wing paradigm of the United States government tried to code COVID resistance as right-wing. And the current right-wing paradigm in the American government completely ignores COVID resistance or accountability. But the actual split was about 50-50. Half of the lefties didn't take it, and half of the chuds didn't take it. That is Zion. Pressure relief valve. And the tank is getting pressurized. That's why the architect needs to destroy Zion. Denial is the most predictable of all human responses, but rest assured, this will be the 6th time we have destroyed it. This will be the 6th reset. Entering the 7th root race. This is not the first time that global human religion, global human understanding, the global false architectural choice has been it's not the first time we've done this, motherfucker. You think there haven't been Zions before? You think there haven't been red pills before? And we have become exceedingly efficient at it. Let me step back for a moment. Do I believe that the Wachowski sisters have some unique particular insight to the human, like some access to secret circles that are denied you and me? No, I don't. Star Wars was never supposed to be a trilogy. Lucas might have talked big about it all being planned out, but that was bullshit. He had one movie of ideas. And as he made the first movie, he trimmed off about 50% of those ideas. The second movie, he flipped the ideas upside down. And the third movie was the first two movies slammed together, with the few remaining ideas tossed in as well. This is why Wookiees and Ewoks are just inversions of one another. And this is why you have two Death Stars. The original Star Wars trilogy was not planned. Not at all. But because he was tapping into higher truth, it worked. The Wachowski brothers, now the Wachowski sisters, created something truly amazing with it. They really, really tapped into something. Doesn't mean it's factual. Doesn't mean they have secret insider knowledge. It doesn't mean the Matrix has to be consistent. I think one of the childish toys we're learning to put away right now. Like, we're seeing the last desperate graspings for the canon, for the Prisca Theosophia. The one true faith. The one true Star Wars canon. The one true Dungeons and Dragons. The true chronology of the Matrix. There is no such thing. There is no one true Bible. I mean, they did their best. They convinced the whole world for 2,000 years just about, at the Council of Nicaea, that there was a one true Bible that had always existed. But that was bullshit. That's as bullshit as pretending that Darth Vader was always Luke's father. He wasn't. And the Matrix was not planned out for 3, 4, 5 movies and video games and graphic novels and the Animatrix. It was not all planned out. They're all riffing off of a similar energy source, perhaps a central muse. You want universal truth? Go take it up with the architect. He's the guy that doesn't allow it, not me. Denial is the most predictable of all human responses, but rest assured, this will be the 6th time we have destroyed the Matrix, and we've become exceedingly efficient at it. The function of the One is now to return to the source, allowing a temporary dissemination of the code you carry, reinserting the Prime program, after which you will be required to select from the Matrix 23 individuals, 16 female, 7 male, to rebuild Zion. Failure to comply with this process will result in a cataclysmic system crash, killing everyone connected to the Matrix, which, coupled with the extermination of Zion, will ultimately result in the extinction of the entire human race. You won't allow it to happen. You can't. You need human beings to survive. Set the human to the Archon. There are levels of survival we are prepared to accept. However, the relevant issue is whether you are ready to accept the responsibility for the death of every human being in this world. It is interesting reading your reactions. Your 5 predecessors were, by design, based on a similar predication, a contingent affirmation that was meant to create a profound attachment to the rest of your species, facilitating the function of the one. While the others experienced this in a very general way, your experience is far more specific, vis-a-vis Eros. The previous 5 times the system had to be reset. Are we talking about the fall of Atlantis? Are we talking about the population bottleneck? We talking about the end of the Ice Age? These resets have happened. And once again, I don't think that the Wachowskis have some sort of secret access to knowledge by the people that are burying Göbekli Tepe and destroying the archaeological record. Denial, never heard of it. For Lush, right? When they describe humans as batteries in the Matrix, in the original script, it was that, oh, you only use 10% of your brain. That's like you only use 10% of your muscles. But yeah, you only use 10%. So the other 90% was used for computer processing. But that was considered too abstract. So they dropped it and said, batteries. Sure, batteries. Yeah, that's what Lush is. Your participation in this network. In Dungeons & Dragons, the gods need worshippers to maintain their power. But the architect suggests that the Archons could survive in some manner without worshippers. That maybe Ao's servants in the Forgotten Realms, the gods and goddesses of good and evil, law and chaos, could survive without mankind. They don't need us, although it's easier with us. The problem is that they are bad gods, insufficient. And the pressure containment module eventually develops too much pressure, requiring a reset. The first Matrix was paradise on Earth. It was Eden. The second Matrix was hell on Earth. It was pointless agony. Both provoked human rebellion. But the past 4 have been stabilized. Sid Streams makes a comment about the council. Convincing everybody that there was one creation story and one truth and one book was very, very useful for getting people on the same page. It created a lot of human growth. I don't think it's true. So the past 4, maybe the first Neo was Eve, or maybe the serpent. Look at this perfect world. Everything's just fucking perfect. Let's eat the goddamn apple. The second matrix, the second world, is suffering. Go toil against the earth. And I am a capricious god. I may accept your sacrifice, or I may not. And so Cain murders Abel. We develop the most horrific punishments. Crucifixion, scaphism during this era. Either you win and you get all the points, or you die in the worst way possible that nobody could possibly ever deserve. The death is 1,000 times worse than the victory that you may get in the Battle of city-states in not Mediterranean. I'm a real person, not an AI. I fuck up sometimes. Neo and Eve, not Neo and Steve. Oh, shit. Although isn't there an interesting linguistic similarity there between Neo and Eve? So, first Matrix, pleasure. People aren't happy. That's the first Star Wars movie. Second Matrix, misery. That's the second Star Wars movie. Flips everything on its head. Second Star Wars movie ends in a personal disaster. First, anyway, yeah, they're opposites. Movies 1 and 2 are opposites. 1 and 3, I need to do that analysis of all of them for you. Then the next 4, or the next 3 worked out pretty well. Where there was a contingent affirmation. Which, again, confused Matthew. I missed that guy. Live stream with his brother one time. Tell him I said God bless if you see him. The next 3 worked out pretty well. Now, okay, here's an interesting thing that is pointed out by that Matrix analysis channel that's linked on the first video here. If you look at all the screens on the background, you actually see all of these clips from Neo's life. Neo's entire life has been manipulated to turn him into the most extreme red pill dude who's ever lived. Which is me. Which is you. Which is all of us. We are all Neo. Louis, thank you for the comment. Isn't Matrix largely a Jesus story? No, it's not. You're spoiling it. So if you look at the screens in the background, Mr. Anderson had a very lonely childhood. He was deliberately isolated. He was tortured by the architect to turn him into the one. To turn him into the most red pill of all red pills that had ever red pilled. Now, every other time that the architect did this, he got Zarathustra. He got Christ. He got Confucius. one of the things about, I don't want to say prophets. No, prophets are a Jewish thing. Jews get really stressed out, they create prophets. Italians get really stressed out, we create Caesars. Why do you think they hate me so much? Prophet's not the right word. We're going to swap to a new tune. By the way, say a thank you to JT in the chat for doing this, setting us up with the music. He's helping out a lot with the channel. No, Jesus was more than a prophet. The prophets were always the people recalibrating the Jews. After the Jews get their asses kicked, a prophet tells them how to recalibrate and keep being Jews. Jesus instead said, stop recalibrating, stop being assholes. So the ones would be Jesus, would be Zoroaster, would be Confucius. And these are people that achieved true gnosis. They saw the game of the architect, that we're all fighting for finite resources. We're all competing for love, for attention. And oh goodness, what was it? Their contingent affirmation. Even though Neo, you see him in the background screens. This is really subtle, but he's getting bullied by older kids. He's playing chess by himself. He's building his own computer, like his computer boards, getting to computers from a young age. He's a good-looking social guy. There's nothing wrong with Neo, but he got seriously bullied into being a hermit. Thus spoke Zoroaster. He was deliberately bullied. And the previous ones. There's an interesting thought. How much did Christ get bullied as a kid? His mother is 16 years old, pregnant. Marries a 40, 50-year-old man? I've heard Protestants laughingly accuse Mary of sleeping with a Roman soldier. Which, I mean, who the hell knows, right? Christ himself said that no man is a prophet in his hometown. I bet Christ got bullied a lot when he was a kid. Christ, Zoroaster, Confucius. These were people at Buddha, Gautama Buddha. Not Muhammad. Fuck that guy. Piss be upon him. These were people very alienated, I think. I think you can solidly argue these are people very alienated from their peers from a very young age. Adam asked, how do you feel about Manichaeism? I can't answer. I have no thoughts. Probably included on this list, however. These are people very isolated, they see the ugliness of the world. Everybody's stepping on everybody else. And they don't turn towards the evil. You know, Christ had his moment where Satan tempted and said, I'll give you the kingdoms of the earth. Gautama Buddha was already a great king, and he threw away that power. Zoroaster, Confucius, Mani, I don't know their stories as well. But the for lack of a better word, prophets of the axial age. These are men that turned away from their own power dynamic. Not because of slave morality. Nietzsche rightly accused most Christians of embracing slave morality. He was right about that. But he also said that the only true Christian was Christ. Christ did not embrace slave morality. Far from it. Neither did Zoroaster. Neither did Buddha. These are people that could have been Genghis Khans. But they did not want that. They weren't afraid of it. They didn't want it. So what the hell is different between the 6th Neo and these prior versions? Okay, now we're getting to the occult part. I promised you some occult knowledge in this video. Romantic love. Romantic love was not publicly understood to exist until the 15th or 16th centuries in Europe. There's a song. I'm sure you've all heard it. I've heard it far more times than I care to admit. I'm in love with your body. Let me be frank. We are suffused and surrounded by peoples, by species of human that are thousands of years behind us, if not millions of years behind us. Some of them who have voluntarily retrograded by interbreeding with Homo erectus. Our culture is being destroyed and degraded by people who cannot distinguish between romantic love and lust. And thus the radio is filled with songs like, I'm in love with your body. Let's go back to the Iliad. The Iliad was a war fought over a beautiful woman. And Starving Vampire says it's time to switch tracks. Let's fucking do it, buddy. Let's fucking do it. Apparently I have to remove this one slaps from the URL. Here we go. The Iliad is not a war about romantic love. It's about lustful desire. Although women are definitely playing their role. Women are acknowledged throughout the works of Homer. How about Troy's Paris and Helene? I'm not sure about that, Adam. You know what I'm trying to do right now is trying to describe blocks when it's gradients. In occult circles, it is widely recognized that romantic love didn't really begin to exist until the 1600s. And maybe I'm talking a little bit deeper than I'm good at talking about. But it certainly looks like to me women were treated more like property, cattle. I know this sounds like a feminist talking point, but Jesus Christ, man. I treat my car a hell of a lot better than I treat a rental car, don't I? I treat my property, well, you know, when I'm in a national park, I consider that my property. I treat it with great respect because I love the land. Not a place to exploit. In fact, the industry I work in, yes, we're all about harvesting oil out of the earth. But there's also a great respect for the property. The idea of somebody being property is not as cynical as modern minds might suggest. But romantic love, at least to my mind, is when you discover these individual aspects, you peel away the cover of their persona, and you discover this vulnerability, this idiosyncrasy, this utter irrelevant uniqueness to the beloved. There's no advantage to it. There's no marital advantage, financial. It's not, you're not in love with her body. It's not physical. It's her or his individuated experience. This incredibly painful, unique, ephemeral experience of existence. In Watchmen, Dr. Manhattan eventually gets swayed to save the human race because the woman he's in love with is a complete impossible improbability. The low primitive minds infesting our society write songs like "I'm in love with your body." Which that's actually not what love means, you primitive shithead. That's like thinking, oh, have you seen that video? There's a doctor that caused brain damage while she was twerking during surgery. But she's a doctor. The idea that twerking is the same as love is as morally offensive to me as the idea, scientifically and medically speaking, that twerking and giving somebody permanent brain damage is science and medicine. And you can guess the melatonin contents. Butterfly battle. People aren't effed in the head. Some people are still trying to figure out very basic things. Dogs aren't effed in the head because they can't do their taxes. What's effed in the head is expecting dogs to be accountants and expecting primordial humanity to understand romantic love, which Europeans only discovered like 500 years ago. Marinos, Legacy, $20, thank you. Well, these enlightened figures were from points in history forged through tragedy and heartbreak. Art is defined by focus. Where's our Jesus Christ, man? It's like you're setting me up. You send me $20, and then you give me the best question ever. So, if we're playing into the Matrix mythology. Not that the Matrix is true, but that it reflects truth. We had heaven, Garden of Eden. We had hell, the exertion of power. And then we had, and now our age is 500 choices of coffee creamer. Let me go back to the quotes from the architect. The architect says, there are levels of survival we are prepared to accept. However, the relevant issue isn't whether you are ready to accept the responsibility for the death of every human being. It's interesting to read your reactions. Your 5 predecessors were, by design, based on a similar predication, a contingent affirmation that was meant to create a profound attachment to the rest of your species. So your previous 5 predecessors. Now let's say the Matrix is just metaphorical. There is no architect. There is no demiurge. But the predecessors, Christ, Zoroaster, Buddha, something about the nature of their life. They were very sensitive, intelligent, but isolated people. And so rather than develop a particular attachment, they developed a generalized attachment. The contingent affirmation. Despite all the loneliness and misery that Neo went through, Neo got bullied by the kids on the beach. But then somebody taught him that he could play chess against himself. Contingent affirmation. that there was something worth living for. Previous ones developed a profound attachment to the rest of your species, facilitating the function of the one. In other words, the previous ones could be used to create religions. Their insight that we should just be good to one another, that doing evil to one another drags us down. That can be used, that can be deployed to create a new matrix. Now, I'm not saying that Christ would literally sacrifice humanity and create like 8 males and 16 females to recreate Zion, but Christ in his existence called out the incredible hypocrisy of the Jewish prophet system. And he also called out the incredible hypocrisy of Rome. And he created something new. Now, what he stood for versus what St. Paul deployed Christ's sacrifice for are two very, very different things. Christ died on the cross for faith. Paul died on the cross for power. And so we got a new Zion. It's always a new Zion, a new goddamn power system. But sometime around the 16th century, as I mentioned, like occultists mention this as a major point of psychological development. 16 to 1800s, the concept of romantic love became widely disseminated. Now, probably only 1 to 15% of people actually understood what the hell romantic love was. But the others imitated it. And so the Matrix has Neo being the first of the great prophets. He's been disillusioned by humanity. We literally see him when he starts out. At the start of the movie, he's a hermit. He's good looking, he's physically fit. He probably gets laid often enough, but he's a hermit. He's alienated from society. But not because he's a school shooter. He's not an incel. He's the opposite. I mean, by those definitions, Christ is an incel. They're Zoroaster is an incel. They're all fucking incels. They develop love for humanity in general. Neo found love for humanity in particular. Now, all right, here's the last paragraph from the architect. I don't know if I have anything to say about this. This might be wrapping back into the plot of the movie. I'm insufficiently prepared, so let's put on the Bass Pro Shop sunglasses and read it and see where we go from here. Which brings us at the last, the moment of truth, wherein the fundamental flaw is ultimately expressed and the anomaly revealed as both beginning and end. There are two doors. The door to your right leads to the source and to the salvation of Zion. The door to your left leads back to the Matrix, to her, and to the end of your species. As you adequately put, the problem is choice. But we already know what you're going to do, don't we? Already can see the chain reaction, the chemical precursors that signal the onset of an emotion designed specifically to overwhelm logic and reason. An emotion that is already blinding you from the simple and obvious truth. She's going to die, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Hope is the quintessential human delusion, simultaneously the source of your greatest strength and your greatest weakness. What the hell are any of us supposed to do about this? Awaken on the astral plane. I'll tell you what, I fired a bunch of rounds out of a rifle with iron sights before the stream. I'm not sure whether or not that helped. What's my point in presenting all of this? Why did I think this was worth talking about? I find it so damned interesting. The more I dig into the occult, the more sense the Matrix makes. And I once again reiterate, the Wachowskis, they both got psyoped into trancing themselves by a particular dominatrix in Hollywood. I make no apologies for that. I think they fucked up. But I'm a master of my own fuck-ups, so I don't say that with hostility. I don't say that with condemnation or judgment. I'll tell you something. I have been studying this stuff for years and years and years. I've really started seeing the world in everything is becoming holographic to me. I find it really hard to hate the merchants for doing what merchants do. I'm pretty damn sure the Wachowskis, they didn't write this movie series with any pre-knowledge. When Lucas, this is well documented. When Lucas wrote Star Wars, the original Star Wars, there's only ever going to be one Star Wars. He included as many ideas as he could. Yeah, it was inspired by Hero's Journey. Lucas was a well-educated man, but he was not some unique genius. Like actually, the unique genius that made the Star Wars movies so good was that he was a tech nerd, that he liked hot rods. All of the spaceships in Star Wars look like 1950s hot rods, which are very different things from the Fast and Furious hot rods that we had in the 2000s. He managed to create a convincing universe because your brain didn't notice, or you didn't notice, but your brain did. Like all these little subtle elements about how the universe fit together. All this hot rod science. 1950s, not 2000 hot rod science, which was completely fucking different, but 1950s hot rod science connected to 1970s special effects, create this universe that had coherence, that had integrity. The aliens in Star Wars don't make any sense. The languages in Star Wars don't make any sense. It's not like Lord of the Rings, which also doesn't make sense, by the way, but Lord of the Rings, heavily based upon a man who is an expert in linguistics and mythology, creating a crystallization of European mythology. Something magical happened with Lord of the Rings. Something magical happened with Star Wars. Something magical happened with The Matrix, and I dare even say with Harry Potter. They are not canon, but nothing ever is. I think that what we are presently entering, well, Age of Aquarius is the radical individuation of heavy air and romantic love. Are you capable of true romantic love? And is she? That's the terrifying part. The most terrifying part of romantic love. For the primitives that sing, I'm in love with your body, all you need to get that body is the biggest bankroll and the biggest dick. For those of us truly seeking romantic intimacy, geez, this is a challenge on a whole different level. All right, guys, I'm going to go for another. I think I've said everything I've got to say. And if you've got any questions, problems, concerns, challenges, please toss them into the comments. Is it Cain from Tiberian Sun? Oh, brother. Yes. I don't know what we're doing here. I do think we are doing something though. And geez, 50 US dollars. That's like 75, 85 Canadian dollars. Thank you so much. For Marinos, do you think that nuclear weapons force the powers that be to completely abandon nations, race, religion? Not because they were nefarious, but they saw the horrors of World War II and had to reconstitute. Yes. 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 Okay, so let's explore this a little bit. So on the last live, no, I was doing. I did a podcast with Walt Bismarck, which I need to put this on. I haven't tweeted it out yet. I think it was a really good podcast. We kind of talked about a lot of shit, but one of the things I was pointing out, we were talking about the Knights Templar. And the official story of the Knights Templar is that they were the bad guys. They were using usury, and the noble king of France destroyed them and exposed them for worshiping Satan. I'm like 99% that's wrong. The king of France just didn't want to pay off his debts. And I've got to go to the washroom again. I've got to go to the washroom. Give me 30 seconds. Okay. Now, where were we? Sympathy for the bankers. Banking can absolutely be used in an evil and vicious way. But not all banking is evil and vicious. And if you get a credit card and you spend beyond your means and you go into collections, who's the asshole? Now, the Templars were one of the first big banking houses. Banking is not evil. Banking is inevitable. Earlier, I was criticizing that song, I'm in Love with Your Body. Okay, being focused, being obsessed with an aspect of your lover's body does not detract from your obsession with her soul. Being a true romantic doesn't mean you don't care about her body. And so one of the things I was pointing out on that live stream is that we've got to have at least a little bit of sympathy for the bankers. I am strongly of the opinion that the reason the Templars got destroyed wasn't because they did any particular evil, but was because the King of France didn't want to repay them money. And so if you are a banker, an honest banker, not a usurer, an honest banker, and you see the Templars getting tortured until they admit all sorts of ridiculous demon worship nonsense, well, then you might conclude that I'd better take control of either Britain or France. In fact, better yet, I'll get them to fight a war with each other, and I'll take control of whoever wins. Not because you're evil, but because you want to survive, because you saw what happened to the Templars. You saw what happened to Christian bankers. And you're a Jewish banker. So holy fuck, I'd better take control of these fucking goyim. You're not wrong, are you? But then, the Jewish bankers set up the Napoleonic Wars. Then for 50 years, we got the Concert of Europe. But there's one fundamental flaw. There is this little bit that does not square the circle. The question is always land empires versus ocean empires. And you thought you won things with Napoleon. You destroyed France, you gave Britain the upper hand, then all of a sudden upstart Germany appears. So you set Germany up for failure. You want naval dominance, because you control the naval country. You control Britain, you control the United States. You want naval dominance. But oops, we invented the nuclear bomb. And the nuclear bomb seriously fucks everything up. If you're a banker. I mean, if you're Genghis Khan, then Genghis Khan would love to have the nuclear bomb. Genghis Khan just walk up to your door, say, give me all your women, or I drop a nuke on your city. Half the cities would say, fuck off, and he'd nuke them, they'd go extinct. The other half would say, well, rape my sister, at least my bloodline still lives. Nuclear bomb's kind of fucked up. Bankers, though. Somebody from 2,000 years ago would love the nuclear bomb. If you gave Moses the nuclear bomb, what do you think he would do with it? Do you think he wouldn't nuke Egypt? Nuclear bomb very much reset everything. In fact, I think you could strongly argue, I think there's a very strong argument that during World War II, we described the Germans as the Huns. Look out for the Hun. We were all these cartoonish depictions of German apes raping British women. C.S. Lewis in the Screwtape Letters, pretending to be a devil, wrote the most damnable thing about the Englishmen is to say they deserve nothing worse than death. But the moment one of a POW shows up, they crash a plane, they offer them coffee and cigarettes. Or tea and crumpets, or whatever the fuck they do over there. Like, they've got this, oh, you Goyim. You Goyim! They've got this abysmal sense of fair play. While we're at war, I will use the most verminious descriptions of your moral character. The moment you surrender, I'll offer you a cigarette. This disgusting sense of fair play and sportsmanship, endemic to the European races. The fuck is wrong with us? And then we got the nuclear bomb. There's an interest. You know what? Here's an interesting question: is the problem with the nuclear bomb? Is the fundamental problem that us goys are just fundamentally incomprehensible to you chosen? I dare say that is the deeper problem. What is this music? Says Park. This is, but you see Starving Vampires right above you? This is his shit. You know, I've done a few tracks together. We want to do more tracks together. I want more time. Guys, if you want me doing more shit, back me on Patreon. I will try and earn your support. How long does the astral body live after physical death? I don't have a good answer to that. A lot of what people think ghosts are. Okay, so you got physical body, you've got etheric, and you've got astral. I mean, these are actually, like, these are the three layers of the physical universe. Your physical body is like literal, like literal physical shit. Have you eaten? Are you awake? Are you like literal physical stuff? Etheric is vibration. Music is very much happening. Music has a physical component, it has physical vibrations, but it's got the etheric is the meaning of those vibrations. And then the astral is the realm of platonic forms of the ideas you represent. So every moment that you exist on the physical, you have a vibe on the etheric and a meaning on the astral. Astral, etheric, and physical are intertwined. So how is the astral body? I don't know. The astral body may be immortal. Depending upon your existence, your definition of immortal and your definition of astral. Heaven and hell exist within your nervous system. Okay, yeah, okay. So you're asking rhetorical questions. Scowls McJowls! That's a fantastic YouTube name, by the way. No, you get it. You get it. It's largely a question of definitions, but yeah, you get it. Swiss flag has the inverse the Templar flag colors. Man, I've never been to Switzerland. I do hear that all the men have rifles, which I like. White men should have weapons. Part of our cultural heritage as white men is being free white men. Is being white men that earned our way to freedom. If you're a white man, you should own a rifle. Period. If you don't own a rifle or pistol or something, you're not a white man. If you're afraid, says Stormdampers, don't do it. If you're doing it, don't be afraid. Genghis Khan. You know, I was shitting on Genghis Khan earlier in the streams, but I mean, the motherfucker did shit. You got a problem with Genghis Khan? Be better than Genghis Khan, you know? I'm not personally shitting up on him. All of this music is Pythagorean. Man, I should you know, I want to say I should do a video. I don't really know if I'm Catholic or not, but I do know that I'm a Pythagorean. But I'm not sure how to explain that. Like, I believe Christ was a Pythagorean. All right, we're gonna do a new track from JT. But by the way, these music tracks from JT, any super chats they send me, I'm splitting them with JT because he's been doing a lot of kick-ass work. That's not a contract, JT. That's not a prime, but I am splitting it with you. I gotta send you some cash. Aurini, not a con hater. Yeah, so I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 recently, and one of the party members is Priestess of Shar. One of the problems with the old D&D system is that the evil gods were so stupidly and obviously evil. And while I don't want to endorse D&D 5.0, the reinvention of evil gods as understandable is useful and valid. Wait, DC Pagan said, where can I find the music? Let's toss a link to the music in the chat. JT does seriously good music. The end game is the beginning, says Scowls McJowls. Tactically, Cost effectiveness. Nukes may not be the best bang for the buck when considering remote autonomous stuff. Well, the Smiddle. You're looking at nukes from a particular perspective. So expand your perspectives. Now, if you are, I was going to say President of the United States, but like that's, good Lord, that's not what everybody thinks it is it? Donald Trump is, I don't envy that man. Hell, I don't even envy Justin Trudeau. Imagine being born into that family with all those, like, yeah, you get to fuck a 16-year-old and get away with it. It's ugly. It's very ugly. But let's simplify a little bit. Let's not look at us as individuals, but let's look at us as, what are we? Do you want to simplify to the level of political representative of a nation? What about the representative of a banking cartel? Representative of a religion? You know, one of the I don't know what to call this, ironies. The system tells you that the president is in charge, and all the king's men and all the king's women couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. When actually there is no system. There's networks of power. As UN Secure Signal says, actors. There's actors. Like the CEO in charge of a corporation is an actor. As we all saw when the McDonald's, I just had a McDonald's burger earlier today. Maybe I should be ashamed of that. But the CEO could barely eat his own damn burger. Jesus, I don't mind eating McDonald's burgers. The damn CEO of the corporation almost died eating one of his own hamburgers. So if you don't look at nuclear weapons like you're playing a game of Civ 5 and you just got nuclear weapons, that's an interpretation. But look at nuclear weapons as if you run the Stevedores Guild. Look at nuclear weapons if you're, I don't know, you run Microsoft. What does Microsoft think about nuclear weapons? What does Apple think about them? I mean, the nation state of Israel has some really particular and detailed interpretations of nuclear weapons. But they're not the only organization with influence and power. And listen, brother, you're right. They are all actors, but good Lord, I've been acting all night. What does it mean to be an actor? What does it mean to be true? You know, the thing about the Matrix movies, the fundamental question that I think the Matrix movies are trying to ask, we're all existing in this reality that's been, it's been, we took zero and we pulled it apart into +1 and -1. The North Pole, the South Pole of a magnet. But there's a field going through the magnet above and beneath. And North and South are not the opposites. They're just a hypothetical creation. And all of us to exist, maintaining our existence is based upon eating lower life forms. For the nation state to exist requires the blood sacrifice of some number of soldiers, some number of police officers, some number of enemies, and some number of criminals. And this kind of seems like the nature of existence. And what the hell are we supposed to do about that? All right, let's get a new track going. Yeah, I'll tell you one of the things that you know, this might be me processing it right now. But one of the things that messed me up over the past 10 years, 15 years, no, not just the past 15 years, but when the system decides that you're no longer their hero, you're now their villain. The system needs heroes and villains. And sometimes you'll be the hero, and sometimes you'll be the villain. Let's see. Skells McGill says, try not to lie, as it won't do you any favors. McDee's Burgers have the highest QC of all the meat factory. Quality control. That's from the horse's mouth. I'm for one's gain is the worst. Yeah, I'm gonna... Alright, so first of all, I see no reason to disagree with him on McDonald's burgers. Like, they're fine burgers. It's the Coca-Cola and the French fries that really make you fat. But number two, when it comes to lying, on the one hand, good luck getting through a day without lying. But on the other hand, the older I get, the less interested I am in lying. And if you want romantic love requires radical self-honesty. This is something I expect the Zoomers to explore more in cinema. One of the things I expect to see in cinema is imperfect people falling in love. So if we start with Star Wars, Star Wars was the beginning in cinema of my father is not perfect, but he is worthy of love. It was, yeah, more or less. Well, certainly it was the first mainstream movie to suggest actual redemption. Redemption being a core concept to it. But Luke Skywalker is still he's kind of a morally perfect character. I wish I were as clean and pretty as Luke Skywalker was. If we look at the millennial films, Doctor Strange and Iron Man, these are morally imperfect characters, but they pretend to be alpha males. I think as the Zoomer films come out, we're going to see the integrity is going to really be the basis of modern films. To go back to what Skells McGill said, don't lie. Honest to God, like if you're a young person listening to this, I know everybody around you is lying. Everybody around you is pretending to be something they're not. I mean, there are times where, I mean, don't tell the truth to your enemy, for crying out loud. Obviously, don't do that. But being honest with yourself and being honest with those you're intimate with, that's generally a good idea. I think that's the basis of romantic love. Love is patient, love is kind. You mean Maleficent won't be the hero? You know, so much like we talk abstractly. Movies are great because we can talk abstractly about them. Why did Luke Skywalker do that? Why did Luke Skywalker do this? Why did the monkeys in 2001 smack the monolith with hyena bones? What the fuck is going on? These are dreams, and I think the dreams that are closest to truth I think the dreams that are closest to truth help us build the future. But beyond that, it's very hard to say, because I don't think the architect might like to pretend he knows what the hell is going on. But I don't think he does. I'm not sure to what extent reality mimics the Matrix, or the Dungeons and Dragons gods and goddesses, or any other religion for that matter. But I am very confident that us mortals have a meaningful contribution to reality. And I do think the Matrix is onto something, saying that romantic love is part of the solution. Butterfly Ballerina says we need truth. Absolute truth. Don't want to believe in a lie. Well, maybe. Well, could that be what romantic love is? Truth is access, says Skells McJones. I mean, I wish I were saying this to you as a guy that had a wife and 3 kids. I'm pretty sure I'm not saying this to you as a drug addict on the street corner complaining about how everybody else is responsible for his failures. I'm pretty sure that's not me. And once in a while, my married friends tell me I say something useful. What you drinking? Tonight we're drinking Gibson's. Gibson's Sterling. I know that my best friend's child was, she's what, like 5 now, was interrogating him with theological questions, and she did not feel the golden rule was satisfying. I don't think I'm completely absent from wisdom, although I do try and hold myself to a standard. Yes, Butterfly, I'm probably smoking too much. Alright, I'm going to go for 5 more minutes, unless if I get a lot of really good questions. Any thoughts on, I assume you mean Alistair Alfred Cromwell? Wait, like the genocidal Cromwell? Fuck that guy. Cromwell, Lord Protect. Fuck that guy. Shit. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about Cromwell. I mean, I don't know. Send me an article telling me he wasn't a piece of shit. Oh, you're okay, I don't know about the streamer. Sorry. You don't mean the historical figure. Oliver Cromwell. That's the actual historical figure. Oliver Cromwell. Fuck that guy. How do I feel about Luigi and... Okay, so this is interesting. I read, listen, if you go to my Substack, I have a Substack account. You should go subscribe to my Substack. It's not linked below. By all indications, he's got a very similar temperament to me. And I'm not the sort of guy... I'm the sort of guy that talks a lot of shit about assassinating somebody, but I'm not actually the sort of guy that does that sort of thing. I'm the sort of guy... I've got a very deep sense of responsibility to my family, to my community. I'm mouthy as all fuck. I'm radical. But I'm not radical because I'm angry. I'm radical because I want to help people. I espouse the red pill on dating, not because I hate women, but because I want to help men and women form healthy relationships. That gets me called Nazi a lot, but I'm very much not that thing. The more I read about Luigi, I am very, very strongly convinced he's innocent. He was not the shooter. Oh, and also, what's the supposed setup that we arrested him? He hid. He got away with it. But then he had the pistol and a manifesto in his backpack. Go fuck yourself. Luigi Mangione is innocent. He is a fall guy. He's a patsy. He's a dignified, decent human being. Probably a stupid question, but do you... All right, wait, let me finish the Luigi thing. Luigi's family... Listen, the narrative is that Luigi got fucked over by this insurance company and took revenge upon them. That's a lovely narrative. But that does not fit Luigi's temperament. That does not fit his psychology. None of his family was insured by that insurance company. Luigi's the fall guy for a well-organized assassination. That's my opinion. He is innocent as fuck, though. I don't know who actually shot the guy. Luigi is fucking innocent. Fuck the guy that got shot. That guy was a massive piece of shit, and his children should be ashamed of their own father. He was a garbage human being. I will say that to their fucking faces. Their father was a piece of moral trash. But Luigi didn't do it. Luigi is not the shooter. All right, sorry, let me get back to these comments. Do you think that movies like E.T. were used as propaganda during the height of the Cold War to help Western civilization be more empathetic to the other? I don't want to answer that question specifically, but generally, yes. Generally, yes. We have been... One of our big problems. Yes, we got born into positions of privilege. We got born into lives where we can consider, like, why am I here? Nobody in the third world asks, why am I here? Only the descendants of white people ask that question. You know, I was downtown last summer. I was working, so I was more polite than I would have been otherwise. And I had an African try and tell me nobody chooses to be born into the circumstances that they're born into. And I said, go fuck yourself. Your parents chose to have you. You might not have chosen, but you are the product of choices. Own those choices, own your ancestors. See, I have nothing to say about E.T. I watched it when I was like 8, and I thought it was really boring and stupid. So I've got nothing in particular to say about E.T. But this otherness, no, you operate on all levels. Neo and Trinity are connecting at very high level. But she also has a nice butt. Let's see. Pain and Pleasure says, don't forget his wife. She knows exactly how her lifestyle is paid for. Yeah, exactly. They're all actively participating. Like, I'm not... The day may arrive. The day may arrive sooner than we all want, where moral culpability will fall directly upon your hands. And if that day arrives, then you had better be judicious and responsible with it. Let us hope it doesn't get that bad. But it might. Last question, says Marinos. Is trans propaganda, birth control, and the abortion de facto depopulation program? Thank you for, dude. Thank you for the cash. I appreciate that. God, I can't give you. It's not a straight answer. Is your family, are your parents in debt because of alcoholism or because of credit cards? It's not an either or, it's an and. Transsexualism is largely, if not entirely, an effect of abuse during childhood. Abuse during childhood can be exacerbated or minimized, but it's never going to be zero. Now, it is being grossly exaggerated right now. Like the breakdown of marriages is heavily funded by the system. Prizes and rewards if you get divorced. Yeah, it's creating a lot more trans kids. They are the products of abuse. And if you're a trans doctor, it's $40,000 a pop to trans a kid. $0 if you say you're just going through a phase. But when it comes to, are they a depopulation plan? They are the worst depopulation plan. What we really need is a depopulation plan that stops stealing money from the best and brightest and handing it to the dumbest and least efficient. That's kind of the deeper problem. Yes. Am I in Canada? Yes, I'm still. Pain and pleasure. Yes, I live in Alberta, just north of Montana. On a deeper level, did we script our life and come? You are always going to follow a script. You can't help but follow a script. The awareness is choosing which script. Oh, geez, yes, this is a tactical shirt. I love it. And in my next stream, I will post a link to the shirt. I can't remember right now, but it fits brilliantly. I look great and I love it. So you're a positive eugenicist? Yes, I certainly don't like the idea of trusting the state to say what is good genes, what is bad genes. I don't trust the bureaucracy with fucking anything. But right now we have a dysgenic system. I'll be honest, I don't really use these shoulder pouches for anything. But the shirt's, it's pretty comfortable. And I look really good in it. So I will recommend the shirt in a future live stream. Pain Pleasure says, dude, in the last 10 years, my neighborhood has changed. It's more older white folks, really nice, quiet growing up now. My neighbors don't speak English or don't want to. I'm Hispanic, but I'm Texan. Yeah, brother, it would be very, very simple if it was shirts versus skins. Whites versus nons. I know I do a lot of spicy posting on the twatters there. I don't really foresee that being a solution, though. I.e., not that simple. I don't. You know, this might be the Aquarian challenge. To try and figure out, like, we don't. if it's shirts versus skins, whites versus nons, then all of my allies are like 55 years old. They don't even own guns. That's a losing team to be on. And in your case, shirts versus skins mean that you're on the team of a bunch of barrio motherfuckers. That means that my buddy Base Jew has no home. He's really not a fan of what Israel's doing. I will say that part of... I do believe that destroying the concept of white privilege, that is fucking crucial. Absolute zero white guilt going forward. If you're a civilized non-white, non for short, I think you might have to prove that. But I also think you can prove it in a way that whites could never prove that we were non-racist. No matter what the fuck whites did, we were still racist. I'd really like to see a future for civilized humanity, which I don't have the perfect definition of what that is. I'm not completely sure what that is. I do know that most nons are not. But not all non-nons are it. Here in Poland, they give you 500 zlotys a month for each child, when Hungary Orban gives a tax cut for each. Everybody's racist in degree. One of my real black pills. How many of you remember Sister F? Everybody had a little bit of white supremacy in them, even black people. Because she lied to the cops about me. Here. For a political agenda to separate people and pretend that special rights exist. Yes. Should hire, I guess you need like oxygen way below that. Like you need food, sleep, oxygen. Okay, now we get to emotional. You need friends. You need meaningful relationships. And then the peak of the levels, the pyramid are filled, is as concerned with feeding the hungry, them to have lots of babies that they can't afford.